Today I'd like to start off with a question. Is moralism the default position of biblical Christianity? And as we start off, let me start by reading Romans chapter 6, verses 6 and 7. We know that our old self was crucified with him in order that the body of sin might be brought to nothing, so that we would no longer be enslaved to sin. For one who has died has been set free from sin. A number of years ago, while picking up some parts at an RV store, I saw a friend sitting in his office, so I decided to stick my head in and say hello. I always look for him as I have developed a relationship with him, and as we have talked this day, the conversation turned to the church and ministry as my friend behind the desk was interested and wanted to know how things were going at the church to which I ministered. We have had this kind of conversation every time I stop by, and it never seems to get past moralism as the default position. Now, moralism, in its most basic definition, is the idea that if I live a moral life, God will let me enter into heaven. While we were talking this time, he told me with some justified parental pride that his daughter was a graduate in comparative religion and was now working on her PhD in theology. I could see he was happy with her educational success and her apparent choice of future vocation, as he put it, a theologian. As I left the room, he made the comment that he was hoping his daughter would, quote, put in a good word, end quote, for him with, quote, the Almighty, end quote, especially considering her chosen vocation. I turned around and said, "That's not how it works." He then defensively kidded around a bit, and then his phone rang and our conversation was over. He was hoping that maybe he could ride into heaven on her spiritual coattails, or at least his own self-perceived overriding moral righteousness versus any moral deficits he might have. This is nothing more than the moralism which I mentioned earlier and is as old as religion itself. I had a fellow pastor tell me a story of an elderly man he met at an indoor swimming pool. In their conversation, the elderly gentleman shared he was teaching disabled children how to swim. He told my pastor friend that he had hoped that it would work to his advantage and he would be accepted into heaven because of his work with these children. My pastor friend then asked, I think, an insightful question. How many children do you think you have to teach how to swim to get into heaven? The question, of course, exposes the fallacy of altruism and good works and another clear version of moralism. And then with my recent move to Texas and a new involvement in a church, I have encountered this same kind of thinking. They would even claim that they believed in the gospel. And like my old friend's position, their understanding of the gospel is a gospel message that is moralistic and offers a therapeutic answer for self-improvement, such as Joel Osteen's book, Your Best Life Now. And it really is no wonder Osteen's message is so popular. It's all about finding the right goal-oriented mentor or life coach, which makes Christianity just another alternative, neither better or worse than other self-help alternatives. Michael Horton, in his fine book, Christless Christianity, the Alternative Gospel of the American Church, puts it this way, and I quote, "Reduce Christianity to good advice, and it blends in perfectly with a culture of life coaching. It might seem relevant, but it is actually lost in the marketplace of moralistic therapies. When we pitch Christianity as the best method of personal improvement, complete with testimonies about how much better we are ever since we surrendered all, non-Christians can legitimately demand of us, what right do you have to say that yours is the only source of happiness, meaning, exciting experiences, and moral betterment? Jesus is clearly not the only effective way to a better life or to being a better me. One can lose weight, stop smoking, improve one's marriage, or become a nice person without Jesus. End quote. The default condition of lost humanity is to always revert to some form of self-help. It's the gospel of moralism that says man is not totally depraved, and there is with humanity the ability for self-improvement. It is this self-improvement that not only will bring personal happiness, but will ultimately be approved by God. But our text here in Romans chapter 6, verses 6 and 7 runs counter to that kind of thinking. Let me read it once again. We know that our old self was crucified with him in order that the body of sin might be brought to nothing, so that we would no longer be enslaved to sin. For one who has died has been set free from sin. You can't improve the natural corruptness of the condition of man through a gospel of self-help or therapy. It can only be killed or crucified, and even that must be done by Jesus Christ. You see, the gospel, the true gospel, sees man's condition in sin as a hopeless proposition that cannot be remedied through self-help. There is no amount of self-righteousness that can change man's condition before God. Listen to what the inspired scriptures have to say concerning that. And we'll look at the Old Testament as well as the New. Isaiah chapter 64, verse 6. We have all become like one who is unclean. All our righteous deeds are like a polluted garment. We all fade like a leaf, and our iniquities, like the wind, take us away. Or Psalm 14, verses 1 through 3. The fool says in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They do abominable deeds. There is none who does good. The Lord looks down from heaven on the children of man to see if there are any who understand, who seek after God. They have all turned aside together. They have all become corrupt. There is none who does good, not even one. And Psalm 53, verses 1 through 3, says almost exactly the same thing. Then there's Job 14:4. Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? There is not one. Then as we move to the New Testament, we have Romans chapter 3, verses 9 through 23. And this is a longer discourse on how fallen man really is. What then? Are we Jews any better off? No, not at all. For we have already charged that all, both Jews and Greeks, are under sin. As it is written, none is righteous, no, not one. No one understands, no one seeks for God. All have turned aside together. They have become worthless. No one does good, not even one. Their throat is an open grave. They use their tongues to deceive. The venom of asps is under their lips. Their mouth is full of curses and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. In their paths are ruin and misery. And the way of peace they have not known. There is no fear of God before their eyes. Now we know that whatever the law says, it speaks to those who are under the law, so that every mouth may be stopped, and the whole world may be held accountable to God. For by works of the law, no human being will be justified in his sight, since through the law comes knowledge of sin. But now the righteousness of God has been manifest apart from the law, although the law and the prophets bear witness to it. The righteousness of God through faith in Jesus Christ for all who believe. For there is no distinction, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. The gospel is not a message of moralism, but one that points to the total moral bankruptcy of man and the intervention of God's grace to redeem man apart from his own self-effort. And we see this clearly in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not of your own doing, it is a gift of God. And then secondly, in Titus chapter 3, verse 5, he saved us not because of works done by us in righteousness, but according to his own mercy by the washing of regeneration and renewal of the Holy Spirit.